My friends, every now and then we like to be recognized and acknowledged for being important. Now, praise is really a good tonic for the soul. It gives us a temporary lift, and let's face it, we all need it, at least occasionally. Today's gospel reading is about this very real human need. It all took place at a dinner party hosted by a wealthy Pharisee. Now, Jesus was one of the guests. While the other guests were watching him closely, he was also watching them. And what he saw was quite revealing. The show started when the servants announced that dinner was ready. They all made a mad but polite dash for the seats of honor. Now, the significance of the guests and their importance was really determined by their proximity to the host. Those who were seated right beside the host were deemed the most important. They all had a need to be recognized and acknowledged for their importance. Now, Jesus recognized this human need and told his host and fellow guests how to meet that need. The first thing he said was, don't try to promote yourself. You know, the worst thing about self-promotion is that it never works. The techniques of self-promotion are really well known. One is fault-finding. If we cannot build ourselves up, at least we can pull others down. Another is name-dropping. If we are on friendly terms with important people, maybe some of their importance will rub off on us. A third common method of self-promotion is boasting. You know, no conversation is less welcome or more boring than bragging about oneself. Jesus was right. Those who exalt themselves will sooner or later be humiliated and humbled. Self-promotion never works. I think the second word of Jesus was this: forget about looking important and concentrate on being important. The way to do this is by helping those that society deems worthless. When you have a dinner party, Jesus said, don't invite your rich friends. Instead, invite the beggars and the crippled, the blind and the lame. According to Jesus, the good thing about helping those people is that they cannot repay you. Your reward can only come from God. Now, all of us can really catch the spirit of that. Young people, have you ever thought of eating lunch with someone who is not very popular at school or in your neighborhood? At recess, try playing with a kid that others seem to have unworthy of their attention. And those of us who call ourselves adults also need to open up a little. How do we react when people we don't like move into our neat little communities? Is our first concern property values? If so, we are a far cry from being important. Our conduct is no different from people who have never heard of Christ. I came across a story about an old woman with 2 grown children. She has a son who teaches school in Boston, and he, like his mother, is a Christian. She has a daughter who's really a stepdaughter who lives in Israel. Her faith is Judaism. This unusual mix goes back to World War II. Back then, the woman lived in Poland. She remembers the day when the Nazis came for the Jews. They rounded them up and loaded them on cars like cattle. A little Jewish girl watched as her mother was arrested. A soldier saw her and asked the Jewish woman, "Is that your child?" The mother said, "No, she belongs to her." She was pointing at the Christian woman who had been her neighbor. From that day on, the little Jewish girl became part of the Christian family. But she grew up as a Jew. The stepmother chose to rear her that way because she thought it was a kind of thing that Jesus would have done. What would we have done? You know, most of our choices in life are really not that dramatic. They may be nothing more than whom we choose to befriend. But those are the little things that determine whether or not we are really important. We may or may not have prestige in the eyes of others, but Jesus has the only vote that counts. And his word on the subject is this: the one that humbles themselves shall be exalted. That is the true way, the only way to be important.